Hey Jesse, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, George. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. You are the first three-peat podcast guest, so congratulations. I think I need you to get you a jacket or something like they do in SNL, right?
I didn't know that, but yeah, I'll take a jacket.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do it camo, man. Get it ready for the dove season there. So it might be a
Sure.
little hot, but it'll work out.
I don't think people wear camo jackets for dove hunting around
Yes, yes, but it'll be like a new First Light thing. It'll be fully
Oh, sure.
breathable, Yeah, like their
Oh, I
trace
got
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it'll
Well, I
work
like
out.
yeah.
So speaking of dove season, actually, let's dive into that, man. We're, fresh in it, and you've been out in the field a lot. Tell me a little bit about experience so far.
Yeah, it's I think we're on the third or fourth year in a row where to see like excited and happy biologists is pretty notable. I'm not saying they're typically cynical, but maybe a little bit on the pessimistic side of the spectrum. And the outlooks have been great the past few years. And I can back that up. I think that we've seen a lot of birds out there, specifically mourning doves. I can't remember what the estimate for Texas was, but something in the 31, 33 million birds. We went out opening day, did okay. It was one of those like, should have been 100 yards to the right deals. But who cares? And then every year we cater the Stewards of the Wild big the dove hunt they do up in Albany, and it's a ton of fun. This is my fifth year to go. Lots and lots of new hunters coming out to that, and we cooked dinner one night. But the real perk of it is that we're getting to go on a lot of the hunts when we're not working, and it is absolutely fantastic up there. Like very good flights of birds. Big, 200-acre sunflower fields, native sunflower, and just birds pouring in to these fields. So we had a couple really good hunts. One really, moderate one. One morning was just kind of dead. But other than that, the afternoon flights were, I don't know if you can use Argentina-esque as a word, but it was Argentina-esque or what I
That's
what I
impressive.
perceive Argentina to look like. So we have a lot of doves in the freezer. Probably, I mean, borderline enough doves in the freezer to last us. Something like 50 or 60 in there between me and Victoria. And she shot her first limit too, which was
Oh,
nice.
cool.
Yeah, she was like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "No, I'm not crying. I've got a
No,
color in my eye."
no.
Yeah, but it was a good deal, just to see new hunters out there and trail ranch outfitters out in Albany. He deserves so much praise for putting on these hunts and setting aside these really great fields, scouting, at his own cost and setting people up for success on their first hunts. And you'd see there's 200 people there, and maybe half of them are new hunters. I don't really know, but there's a lot of excitement. And it's a profound experience to see all those people. Maybe they only shot one. I met a person, she shot one dove, and she was so excited about it. So I mean that happens, and every year getting to participate with that, and that aligning with the beginning of dove season, or in hunting season in general, it's a great way to kick it off. It's a very positive event, very fun, and just to get to see all these people out in the field, and generally having a lot of success. And then we cook this big meal for them, and we have a dove plucking contest where I judge how well you pluck the entire bird, and it's total chaos. And there's just there's literally feathers flying. Everybody's had a couple beers in them, and we get everybody to pluck a dove, and they have to present it to me. I reject it if I don't think it's plucked well enough, and then the winner gets a bunch of prizes. So
What are the prizes for that?
we gave them a copy of the turkey book, a copy
Nice.
of the hog book, a Fowler hide supply um, belt strap, which I'm a huge fan of.
Oh yeah.
The Cameron's great, and he makes such great products. And then some game shears, which are, I think, integral for cleaning doves and other birds. Either the Helen Chin or the Joyce Chin brands. There's two different brands, both ending in Chen, Chen. I've created an entire like dramatic backstory of these two feuding sisters creating their own game shear companies. I have no idea though. And also I gave them a subscription to my new project, the Pedernal Project, to the winner. Now the winner was probably like a 14-year-old kid too, which made it even better, you know. So he was just like he was very stoked. So it's a good time all around.
Well, let's jump into the project, man, because I want to talk about some of the Dove setups that you have there in the video. There's all sorts of journal entry and everything. Let's just go ahead and bring it in. When did this idea come about? I know it just launched last month, but why don't we go ahead and catch people up on this, man? It's an amazing project, and yeah, I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, yeah, great. I've thought about books. I love creating books. So, turkey book, hog book. There's an obvious next one. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We're just gonna be a little coy about that. But I really wanted to create a format or platform where I could continue to present the education that I love so much. Just game, cookery, um, processing, basically just like this linear line of enjoyment throughout. From planning all the way to consuming that last package of whatever it is. And that that's kind of difficult in a one-on-one situation for a lot of topics, like blue crabs or doves. So I thought that an online platform would be good. And then we toyed around with a few different setups for that. What would that look like? Is that YouTube? Is that a subscription? And we're in a very dynamic situation right now as far as media information and things like that. For instance, like probably my most popular Dove recipe, the one that has been reprinted in Texas Monthly and gets used a lot. I actually saw someone one time online, they used my recipe as a verb, which I thought was a real win. They said I hot fried my birds, and I was like, I just achieved something right there. If you're turning the recipe for hot fried birds into a verb, it's like, oh, how did you cook them? I hot fried them. I'm like, oh, that's great. But for instance, I Google searched that today, and the first thing that pops up is my recipe, but in AI form. So what you're seeing right now, as far as online content, is a lot of that stuff getting gobbled up. So the first hit on that is Google AI, saying hot fried birds could be completed this way, and then my recipe verbatim listed below that with no credit either.
Ooh,
Yeah. So I really don't know what to do with that, and we could discuss some more arching problems with the robots taking over. Um, but I really think that, what that did is inform what that step would be. And instead, it is a subscription service. It's behind a protected paywall so that all this information is there, it's cohesive, and more importantly, not bound by a couple things that I think negatively influence the way that I'm able to present information. One is censorship, and the fact that um, in our hog processing video, we're gutting the hog. You can't really see that on YouTube. I mean, where we are, well, we did not to cut anything out.
right.
Shoot the pig, we string it up on the gambrels, we open it up, we pull all the guts out, and we're sorting through those guts. There is a lot of blood, and that's step two. So to me, I can't skip that step. And then that's followed by a really long form butchery. I mean, probably 45 minutes of butchery. Essentially, my entire hog butchery class is contained on this website now. And and then from there, we're getting into recipes and things like that. So the censorship, the ability to present exactly what we want at all times in the most educational, honest, and straightforward way is one reason that we've chosen this format. And the other reason is just algorithm and playing the whole game. We're able to complete probably about four long form videos a year. YouTube videos, 7 to 15 minutes long. Our hog video on the website is an hour and 44 minutes long. So that's not going to be, good YouTube format. And also, we're not able to produce something twice a week, of that caliber, the editing, the whole process. So not going onto YouTube was also informed a lot by that. Also the need to continually create kind of what I would consider somewhat like fluff content in order to play with that algorithm and maintain this visibility on these sites is something that I didn't want to get into either. I want to be like, we're going to be very metered and very thoughtful and intentional about how we create this and take our time to put out this very high quality video that is going to be as educational and useful as possible. So we wound up with a subscription website. And so it is, you do have to pay for it. There's been, I mean, I'll speak very frankly, there has been a little bit of grumbling about that, but nothing is really free in life. If I saw somebody make a comment, it's like, if it's free, then you're the product. And it's kind of true because I just need people to know that, producing videos and editing them requires three or four people, and they want to get paid. It is not free. And in fact, it is the opposite of free. It's quite expensive to produce this stuff. And so we want to just make it's a transaction, and it's like this information is out there. There's probably pushing 5 or 6 hours of video content on the website right now, with more to come. There will only be more added. I added 2 new recipes yesterday, so now we're pushing about 80 recipes. So it's about a book's worth of recipes just on the 4 topics that we have currently covered. So in the first drop, we started with dove, blue crabs, turkey, and the first of 4 chapters of feral hog, being a large sow, because that's what I shot that day. So those 4 topics are covered in lots of detail. For instance, the crab, like how to crab in 4 different ways: drop in pots, drop nets, hand lines, and scooping them up at night. And then we go into steaming versus boiling. And then once you've got that cooked crab, we go into video recipes from there, how to make all these different things: crab cakes, stuffed crabs, things like that. And then on the website, that kind of dovetails into other recipes. So there will be, along with the video format recipes on there, there's written recipes for blue crab. And as I progress through the seasons, as I'm cooking dinner at home, snap a picture, put up the recipe, and then we're just generating more and more and more. And so it's dove season now. And so there is more dove content coming on there online as I'm making things with the doves that we shot up in Albany. Trying new recipes. One works, document it, make the notes, type out the recipe, put that up on the site. And so then it's an ever evolving thing. And as we introduce new topics, which are to come this fall, the website will just become more expanded.
Well, I love too that the setting up in the Dovfield video, it's really informative on just kind of where to set up, how to set up, what to look for, and there's like all sorts of different interactive, like kind of like the different videos and screenshots you've done in the journal, and then the video kind of walks you through everything, and then obviously the cooking preparation side of things, tons of different recipes, and we're in a day and age where paying $50 for a cookbook is standard, and for $80, you're getting all these recipes for all these different animals. The laundry list of different animals you can click on and see is just, phenomenal. And then, you're getting these videos and these how-tos and these like little tips and tricks. And like when you're crabbing, you're showing all the ways, you're showing the best way to, line pull and find scissors that are out in the middle of the water that you lost 6 months before. And, how to. You got all these different things that are super informative that if someone is coming from, in my background of, doing a lot of dove hunting and stuff, I'm learning something too from somebody who's a seasoned veteran who knows how to do that, and then being able to have the cooking side of things too. So, I mean, for less than $7 a month to be able to have access to all that, it was a no-brainer to me. The second I saw that, I'm just like, yep, purchase that. And it's great because every single time I'm seeing a new journal come in, I'm like, oh, it's really cool, man. Little entry about something. And it's really, entertaining, educational, informative. And I like that you don't have to um kind of like cut it for, YouTube or some other kind of censorship, man. It's just really easygoing and fun. And yeah, I think it's a great project. It's off to a killer start, man.
Thank you. I mean, I really appreciate it. And I think that, you touched on something with doves is I think about doves a lot, and uh where we just were this last weekend, you see there's this maybe mentality would be the right word, where you go and you just post up in a field somewhere, and then you shoot the doves, and then you breast them out, and then you cook them the same way. And that's fine. I have nothing wrong with that. If that's your comfort zone and that's what you want to do, then that's perfect. If that's not what you want to do and you want to explore that a little bit more, that's what this is for. So doves are something that I'm very comfortable with, and I feel like I do fairly well. And so yeah, we did put some front end stuff on there about like where to position yourself in a field, which I think is totally fascinating. And it's something that I constantly look at in a dove field and take note of. And it's something that I've noticed over the years that if you have a tree line and then there's a gap in those trees, just one little gap. I'm not saying all the doves are going to fly through that gap, but more doves are going to fly through that gap than something that's just a monotony of tree line, like just the same height. Or for that matter, if you have one tree out in the middle of a field, doves are tending to cross over that tree for some reason. And that's up to the doves. I'm not getting in their brains or anything, but it's just an observation that if you compile these things, doves love straight lines, they love power lines, they love fence lines, they love roads. And when it really became obvious to me is I was at a hunt, it was last season, and we were up near Lubbock, and I'm in a cornfield. The entire cornfield had been cut. There was no cover around the edges, and they posted everybody up around the edges. And the field was big enough where you could safely go out in the middle of the field and hunt. It was a couple hundred acres. And so I was not in any danger of getting peppered or anything. I walked out in the middle of that field, and I swear there was, as far as cover of the entire property, there was three corn stalks that had not been cut. And I stood next to those, and I got more shots than anybody else in that field. I think I killed 12 birds, and people were maybe getting two or three or four. And it's not because I'm a great shot, because I'm not. But I had more opportunities because, these doves, for some reason, just that one little bit of, I would call it structure, were flying over it. And I think that that's just very notable. And to be able to kind of communicate that in an almost nerdy way, as the first part of this thing, and I keep mentioning this like linear enjoyment of it. And so it's like you have a new spot that you can hunt doves at, but you're not going out there yet, but you can still look at the aerial map of it. You can still pull up onX and look at it and start to analyze and be like, you know what, if I was to set up in this field, the pond is right here and there's a corner and there's a big gap where, there's a road here or something like that. And then you start to see these lines because we tend to use our perspective on the ground, whereas obviously they're looking down. And for some reason, they love like flying almost like a map. They love those straight lines and they love something that guides them. And so you can start enjoying that entire process before. Then you go on the hunt. And then there's the cleaning of the birds. And that's another thing. It's like I'm an adamant dove plucker. We are always the last people out of the field because we are plucking doves. And this is where I try not to sound, this is not a holier than thou. This is not a judgment or anything. But I enjoy plucking doves. I think you get a lot of meat out of them that way. And I think it's the most respectful thing to do for a dove. To get to Albany, Texas to go on a dove hunt, it's a 4-hour drive, you know. So I think just that statement alone negates the time argument. Like, well, it takes so long. Like, listen, I've got an 8-hour round trip just to do this thing. An extra 30 minutes in the field to pluck them with friends, potentially with a beer. I mean, there's nothing that's not fun about it. And if you can just convince yourself, if you can change your mind, like change your mentality to enjoy every step of the way. The hunt, of course, is fun. The birds are flying, knocking birds down, finding a bird, all fun. If you can enjoy the plucking part where you're like, oh, I'm good at this, I'm fast at this is going to be delicious. That's just another thing that you can enjoy in that whole step. And then there's the saving the offal, the packaging, and then you move on to cooking. And so we're kind of covering all of that. And it goes back to even the name of the project. I mean, this is very appropriate, George, because you're sitting in front of a bunch of artifacts. Those are all made out of flint. And the Spanish word for flint is pedernal. So that's the Pedernal Project, and it means it's like a foundation. It's like a foundational tool. It's meant to be like throughout. How do you get the most out of this thing? And then if you shoot eight doves, what's the best way to enjoy them? And it's like you can really create something very, very special with eight doves. You can make the yakitori and enjoy each individual part of the dove in a slightly different way. Is it more work? Yes. Yes, it is. But if you can if you can convince yourself that it's fun, or if you can realize that it's fun, then I think that you're just creating a more enjoyable life for yourself. You're just there's another avenue of enjoyment in the whole dove hunting process there. And so we're trying to apply that to all these different topics. Now, if we were to go on a big game hunt, like for aoudad or venison or something, am I going to give you tips and techniques on that? Probably not, because there's enough content out there and I'm not good enough, you know. But there's certain things that I know on that front end that I do want to share, but where I would be specifically skilled in a situation like that would be the butchery and the cooking. And so we're going to load the back end of that more because I also, in communication with a lot of people, friends, customers and guests, and I find that that's really what they desire. It's like to learn more about butchery and cooking and different ways of doing it, and just conceptual things, and teaching foundational techniques. Like how to roll an enchilada, how to stuff a pepper for a chile relleno, how to slow cook birds and shred them and utilize that, how to make stocks, things like that that are daunting but actually quite simple. And once you develop those conceptual skills, then you can start applying that to anything, and you can manage your time better too. It doesn't have to be this all day thing, because I think that's what's the traction is that people see that as like, that's going to take too much time. I don't have the equipment. I'm not able to do this. And my point is you absolutely can do this. This is how, and this is how to manage that time. And this is how to package it and freeze it for later. And then we're entering the end of that timeline, which is like, the cooking process, like making all these new dishes, becoming comfortable enough to like know that, oh God, I don't have a red onion, but I have a white onion. And I'm like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Like, or hey, I don't have mint, but I have some basil. I'm like, try it out. Like just give it a shot, or if I don't have either one of those things, it's cool. I mean, it might be a little better, but also, just let's just give it a shot. And then the consumption of that thing all the way to that last package. And then we're at the end of the line there. We've gone from this anticipation. We're looking at online maps. Like, I want to post up right there. This is going to be so fun. The hunt, packaging, the consumption, it's all done. And I think that, trying to navigate through that whole thing with people and just empower them as much as possible is the whole point.
Well, and to that point too, there's two things I wanted to say to that. One is about how like what's done after the hunt, but the idea too that I think is really powerful with having a project like this is, I come from an educational background and I know that people learn differently. Some people by reading, some people by hearing, some people visual, right? So whenever you're able to have all those things in one place, you can be able to teach and be able to share that information and to more people in a way that I think really hits too, because people may look at a recipe about rolling enchiladas and they're like, oh, I don't know how to do that. But then you see it or you hear someone talk about it, and then you can be able to be like, oh, okay, I got the concept. It's not as difficult as I was perceiving it to be when I was just reading it. And I think that way too, to kind of get that threefold touch of that information and seeing someone do it is really, really important. And so that's something that I really love about this project, where it's kind of the best of all worlds there, I think, for the end user to really get that full experience. And fun anecdotes and stories and just, entertainment stuff along the way too. It just keeps it's very, I mean, an hour and 45-minute video just ran through in no time. Cause I was like, oh, this is cool, man. And all the other ones too, they're all at least an hour, right? So it's not this little short bit of information. You can really dive deeper. You can watch a little bit, come back to it, whatever you want to do, and it'll keep it where it was. But when I was thinking about too, like when you're saying like, at the very end of that hunt, there's all these different things that we kind of can keep as these I don't know, to kind of round out the end of like a hunt. And like, the turkey feathers there behind you. I know you can't have any more in the house, but the idea too of your gizzard stones, like, and I wanted to talk about that too with like the turkey and what you do and like the medicine bottles and whatnot. I'd love for you to kind of tell that story of how you do that. But there's so many little memories that trophies, if you will, or whatever it is at the end of the hunt that kind of remind you of that experience of your friends, your family, the camaraderie in the field, and just the experience of being able to have when that last package of meat is done. It's not the end of the hunt. There's always something there that I think we keep, and I love the kind of visceral visual thing where you can kind of see that in the medicine bottle. I'd love for you to kind of tell that story if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, actually over my shoulder right there. Those are my jars. So my what do you call it? Um oh, just my brain is failing me. Tradition is to uh clean the gizzard stones out of a turkey. What's really interesting about that is it can be all different colors. I've got some over there that are like jet black. Those are from Washington for some reason. And then sometimes they'll be like this pale brown. Sometimes they'll be more yellow. Sometimes there's a lot of them. Sometimes there's not. So, any bird that collects grit and stone in its gizzard and uses that to grind up seeds. So when you're cleaning the gizzard to make it edible, you peel those seeds out. And I like to clean them, and we go through that in the video.
Hmm.
Just a little bit of dish soap and water, and you'll get them clean in no time. It's a very easy process. Takes 5-10 minutes. But then my favorite part of it is that I will find an antique store close by, and I will try to find a jar that is from that area. Maybe look at the bottom, or just purchase a little medicine jar from the area. And I bought them in South Dakota. I've bought them in Wisconsin. Bought them in Oregon. I bought a lot of them here in Texas. Just after a good successful turkey hunt, you just driving by and you see like either a thrift store or like one of those like ratty old antique stores, which I just absolutely love.
Oh yeah.
On the road, it's like, and I'm just gonna pull over, and I went into Lockhart one time and I walked in the door. And the lady was, she's like, "Can I help you?" And I just looked to my right. All the medicine jars were there. And I was like, "That one." I picked it up and I walked over and I handed it to her. And she was just like, what's happening here? Like you just walked in, found exactly what you needed. That's all you need. And I said, "You're not gonna believe me if I told you." And she, try me. And I'm like, "All right, buckle up. I'm going to clean the gizzard stones from a freshly dead wild turkey and put them in this jar." And she's like, "I don't know what you just said." Cool, thank you, ma'am. Here's your $3. I'm out. And so, yeah, I think it's part of it, and I'm kind of obsessive about it. I love keeping, a feather and a hide and gizzard stones and little things here and there. Kind of, yeah, as reminders, like hunts with my daughter, I can identify immediately the jars from there, things like that. So it's important. And it does translate again to just enjoyment. There's all kinds of things that you can take home, that literally and metaphorically from these processes that we enter into, and it's like maybe not so much with crab, but that'll get a little stinky. But I think that you can get stuff like that out of there, and putting that content in, I think has some value. If you don't want to do it, it's cool. Don't. But it's just this is just another thing that I really love about this process.
Well, I found that really fascinating, and I had heard about it before, but I was like, okay, man, now I'm starting to think about the medicine bottle aspect. We have like in our place in South Texas there, we had a whole array of all the bottles that all my family has used since like the early 1900s. And of course, as a kid, I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm gonna go shoot him with the 22. And then I got older, I was like, oh, that stupid kid, what was he doing? And so now I know like underneath there's some that are even older, and I'm gonna start digging through those there and just kind of I was like that'll be fun to kind of have that, take a turkey from there and be able to use it, and then something that my great granddad had, right? And just it's just a fun little kind of thing to put together of those hunts. I love that idea, and just anything you have, man, it's something that those are like the trophies to me are always like the memories, right? It's like I can take a doe, but I'm there with my friends and we're doing management harvest, but man, there's something about that, and I can remember that one little moment, or I found an arrowhead from that hunt, and that kind of ties it back in, just to kind of recap all those amazing times we've had out in the field. So I really appreciated that little section. Um, one of the things I wanted to talk about was that you also have a big event happening. It'll be tomorrow. We're recording this on Thursday, dropping on Friday, and tomorrow's going to be the Meat Eater tailgate that you're going to be doing over at Country with our buddy Tyler Vanderkolk there. And why don't you tell me a little bit about this? This is the second year I think that you've done this, and they're kind of going all around the country, kind of doing tailgating sessions at different venues, kind of before these football games, and kind of tying in all sorts of different fun food and just family and environments there. So why don't you tell me a little bit maybe about last year and what you're looking at this year, and yeah, just kind of lay it out.
Yeah, last year we did it down pretty close to the stadium. A lot of traffic. It was kind of crazy. This year we're doing it up at Archery Country with Tyler, who is one of my favorite people in the whole world. And Archery Country is just such a great place in general. I'm not even an archery hunter, and I love going in there. He has the kindest, most helpful staff ever. And I think that's just, it really needs to be noted that Tyler has created an incredible culture in something that has a kind of, a barrier to entry or a perceived one that you could be treated very poorly when you walk into an archery shop, and you are not there. You are treated, it's great. I mean, the way that he has set that place up and set the standard for, being friendly and helpful, is really incredible. And so we're hosting it there. TWA will also be there, Texas Wildlife Association. I think they're going to have some information about their Adult Learn to Hunt program and their other programs. So TWA is another friend of mine.
Yep.
We just conference, and then Meat Eater, of course. And we'll be cooking up some North Bridger bison is the sponsor. So we'll be cooking up some bison and just serving all day. I think from around, I would say like let's just call it mid-morning. I can't remember the exact times right now, till kickoff, basically, up at Archery Country here in Austin. And it should be a really good time. We're going to bring a lot of food. So you should
That's
come.
awesome. That is really fun. I mean, I heard great things about it. I mean, archery country second to none out there. I went in there to kind of get my feet wet in the archery world and started shooting. He's like, let's see, what dominant eye are you? And I'm like, oh, my right, of course. And then we did the test. He's like, no, it's your left, you idiot. And I was like, oh, perfect. He didn't call me an idiot, but they sat me down and I learned something. And I was like, huh, there you go. All these years I've been backwards in my mind. So it was really good because then, that's one of the two sports you have to, work with your dominant eye, or it's best to. And we just kind of walked through, man, the process going with those guys is phenomenal. And again, Tyler was great. Had him on a previous podcast. Y'all should check that out. And obviously that has been growing, man. Got, some new folks there as part owners, and Joe Rogan, Cameron Haynes. There's some other folks that are a part of that too. That it's just really that thing is just going to continue to blow up, and it started with the great foundations. Man, Tyler's awesome. So I'm excited to know that you're out there and doing that. And yeah, that'll be a great event. Are there some other things that you have kind of coming up with different events where you're going to be doing some live cooking or some different things coming in, leading up to the fall that you're excited about? You want to talk about?
I mean, not a lot. We are kind of just buckling down for a busy restaurant season. I think we just completed another survey from Michelin. They reached out to us, so they're doing their presentation, and I think that's in November. So, and we're probably up for maybe another Green Star. And we anticipate getting busy beyond that. I've got a meat eater hunt up in South Dakota with Ryan Callahan in December. Is for Pheasants Forever. Looking somewhat forward to that. I checked the weather last December for start of South Dakota, and I was like, is this some sort of typo? What's going on with this number? There's only one number. It just says two. What is that? I didn't know it goes that low. Um, so I'm probably going to be very cold for that one, but I'm doing a lot of cooking for that. And then just kind of getting ready for really doing some more content for Pedernal Project, this fall. So we're really looking forward to getting into more hogs. I do want to present the other three hog sizes as they come. And I don't know if the hogs are going to cooperate in like just donating to me a large boar, a medium hog, and a small hog, but hopefully we can. Um, And then, yeah, just doing some more fun content with that. And then I'm also, I mean, I've got my annual trip to the coast in October. It's just personal, deal. I love to go fish down on the coast in October. It is just gorgeous down there. Weather is good, and the fish usually are cooperating pretty well in October with, big shrimp migrations happening and stuff. So I get pretty excited about that, taking kayaks down and hitting the marsh pretty hard, trying to get after some redfish and anything else that'll eat a shrimp.
Nice. That sounds fun, man. When you were kind of talking about that and the hogs, I had a memory came up about it was the pancetta that you had in the video with the most translucent fat that I've ever seen. And that thing just stuck out. As far as like that area, because that was like, they were all eating pecans, right?
Yeah, it was very notable. I mean, it's good and bad when you're presenting information like that, because sometimes what you want is something that's like middle of the road,
Generic, right?
generic. That's the perfect word for that. And but it's not what we got. But at the same time, that diversity of experience is exactly what you always experience in hunting. So you do have to be ready. And also the shot placement on the hog. I won't ruin it, but it
Yeah.
it wasn't optimal, but it was effective, very effective. And but that pig was probably the most unique hog that I've ever killed, and the most delicious. It had, in my mind, only been eating pecans. I rendered fat from that hog, and it remained liquid in the refrigerator. And lard always sets up hard, like very
Yeah.
firm. Sometimes it's like scoopable, but this was, I mean, full on liquid. Like you could just turn it over and it would all run out. And the sausage that it made was, in turn, it wouldn't make link sausage. You couldn't make link sausage out of it because the fat, as you ground it, the fat just liquefied. And it was high. I contacted a doctor friend of mine, Anthony Gustin, and I was like, "Hey man, what is up with this?" And he's like, "That's polyunsaturated fat from it likely only ate pecans." And so where we were hunting these animals, there's pecan orchards on two sides of the property. So cultivated pecans, and then the that area is river bottom, and it is only native pecan down there. There's hardly any oaks on the property, so not even really an acorn there. And it's been a fantastic pecan year. This is a second or third year in a row. We've already got pecans on the ground now. So
Yeah.
actually going out there on Tuesday to try to kill a hog because they've had probably 3 or 4 weeks of pecans already. It made for an incredibly delicious animal, although the fat was, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a negative. It was definitely a positive. It was just very different. I've never experienced fat that behaved that way. And that's just one of those things that you got to learn and kind of pivot and deal with in hunting, is that nothing is ever the same, particularly with hogs. So in a way, I'm very glad that that's the hog, because during the video, I don't know how many times I've said it as like, this is a very fat pig. Because I mean, there was a good, 2 to 4 inch fat cap on
Oh
most of it.
yeah. The whole thing was white once you skinned that thing out. You couldn't even like you could not see any red on any of it and most of that shot. It was
Right.
insane.
So, I mean, hopefully, we can get a lean boar and kind of deal with that, because that's, its own system right there. And it's like, this is what I'm going to do with that. And it's by no means going to be as diverse as what I can do off of that fatty sow. But it's still highly useful, and you just like, if you're gonna take two pigs and one's like nice fat sow and one's a boar, then like learning how to dole out these two different things into, like, oh, we're gonna make a lot of sausage with this one, and we're gonna do a lot of cuts with this one, the fatty sow, like our grilling cuts and things that we're gonna throw in the smoker. This kind of rangy, leaner boar over here, we're going to mostly grind or make stew meat out of, which is useful. And in fact, it's highly useful if you think about it, in that you don't have to use that from the like the super optimal hog. You don't have to take from that category, from that pile, in order to make those things. You don't have to make your chorizo with this beautiful pecan fed sow. You can make it off of this boar instead, and then add in a little bit of the fat from her. So I think that, like freezer management is another thing, and that's I'm going to be working on a journal entry about freezer management because I think that's a huge thing. That's how I hunt and cook is based on freezers. I like, someone might be like, "Hey, do you want to go fishing?" And I'll be like, I mean, I do, but I don't need to. So appreciate it. Like I won't go until the need is there. So in managing freezers and like looking and saying, oh, hey, we're almost out of venison, or next year I need to know to make more breakfast sausage because we ran through that the quickest. And these things are all part of it. I don't know, that's very tangential what I just went on. So, but
No, I think that's it's critical to look at that kind of thing too. And when you were thinking when you were talking about that, and in the video too, and you pull out a pecan, you're eating one of the native pecans there, and you're like, I think I'm going to grab some of the actually pecan branches and stuff to do some smoking and utilizing something from around that area. It's kind of a nod, man, and I love that. I've been kind of doing that for years, whether it's dewberries and turkey, and kind of making some kind of little sauce, or taking some of the prickly pear fruit and being able to kind of make something there. Just kind of trying to bring out something else that is from that environment that I don't know, man. It's just something that kind of ties that all in a way that it's been in the forefront of everything that I've been doing each year for the last like couple years, is trying to tie those things in. And I love that idea too. When you were like, I think I'm gonna smoke the pecan, pull back on the mill scale. Let's talk about mill scale a little bit, man. You've been doing some work with those guys, and
yeah.
man, they got some amazing gear. We just drove through Lockhart. Went to Terry Black's the first time, and I looked over, and I hadn't seen mill scale. I hadn't gone into that part of Lockhart for a long time. What
There
a
you go.
facility! We're gonna go and check that out very soon in person. I have to call them, make sure they're all there and working, and the hours are right. But man, tell me about them, because they are just blowing up some amazing stuff.
Yeah. I mean, Matt and Caleb and their entire crew, they're just incredible. I mean, just great people. And the quality of the functionality and the craftsmanship that they put into everything is just beyond. And what I really appreciate with them is that they are very in the whole smoking and barbecue world. Admittedly, I that is not my forte. I like cooking above heat. I like cooking over high heat, and I'm proud of that. It's like I'll own it.
Yeah.
Um, and they're very amenable to that too. And so like the grills that I work with from mill scale are typically they're small, the Yakitori, the Scout, the Amigo, these smaller direct heat grills that are just they're kind of deceptively simple, but they conduct heat and channel heat in just incredible ways. I mean, very moderate amounts of charcoal or wood can go in there, and you can generate enough heat to sear, a steak or cook some turkey, or you can kind of like slow roast things up above, and they're typically very adjustable as well, and just beautifully made. Just really nice and fun to cook on. And it's just like when you look forward to using something. It's like I look forward to using a mill scale. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna grill tonight, and it's gonna be easy, and it's gonna look good. This beautiful grill, and it's just gonna and just having these beautiful, nice tools made by nice people too. And a lot local company. They're out in Lockhart, and I just really appreciated the relationship that we've had with them. And then, like when I go to bigger events, like out in the Dove Hunt in Albany, they'll roll out the big, the 1,000-gallon smoker with the Santa Maria and the fire table where there's stuff going on everywhere, and it's magnificent, and it's just showstopper. They've kind of got this beautiful. They're like they walk right between functionality and beauty there too, form and function. And I really appreciate that about mill scale products. They're so nice. And like I said, just couldn't be nicer people.
Well, and that's something too. You found, I think, a great group of different people that you've connected with, you work with, and a lot of things y'all have done with conservational aspect too, whether it's TWA, whether it's Meat Eater, First Light. I know Poncho, Lone Star. There's a bunch of different companies. What about those are important to you to connect with those, and like the ethos of some of these groups that are really doing making amazing products, one, but also doing something I think that leaves a lasting impact for people who love the outdoors.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we have to be real about stuff like this too. It's like once you have even a bit of notoriety in the outdoor space, you start to get approached by brands. And I think that's it's part of it. And the thing that I have always tried to have guide me is just like, does that product work? Is it good? Are they great people? It's like Fowler Hide Supply. It's like, I'm not on their payroll by any means. It's just like, but he's he's amazing and he makes amazing products and he's passionate about it. And so I talk about it as much as I can. you know, First Light, Meat Eater have been formative, and very supportive, and I've always enjoyed working with them. Poncho, again, I've been wearing Poncho forever, and it's been fun to see that, kind of small Austin company go to a big Austin company, and objectively making great shirts. We wear them in the kitchen. This October, I'm down on the coast. Those ultralights are, you cannot beat that,
Yeah.
uh, just very comfortable. And so working with these brands, it's easy. And I mean, in full disclosure, there's also brands that I've turned down just because I'm like, no, thank you. I'm sure it's wonderful, but no, thank you. I'm not into it either because, preference, or it's just not something I would organically use. And so there's that too, so I mean, yeah, again, I want to be perfectly honest about all of it, how this works. Sometimes it's product, sometimes it's, a little bit of cash here and there, but really it's just about supporting other people that I think make this whole experience better or easier or more beautiful, like one of those things. So I'm proud to work with those brands.
Oh, some great brands there, man, hands down. Another, it's not a brand you're working with, but it's a company that you are a part of there with the Wild Books, and I wanted to talk about that. This you and Jody Horton have created, some of the best books out there. Obviously, they're right above me here, and those are all available. At least the hog book, a turkey book there, and some really cool gear. Some connections there with First Light. There's some great bandanas, and there's all sorts of great shirts and stuff too. And I really wanted to talk about that because that's a whole nother avenue and people can go there and they're supporting, you and Jody, local company, kind of creating these amazing, amazing books. And congratulations, by the way, another James Beard Award or nomination there for the Turkey book. All three of them now have been nominated. The Hog book won as well. And yeah, so congratulations on that. And yeah, tell me a little bit about the Wild Books and what people can check out there on the website.
Yeah, so the last two books that we've done, so Jody and I have worked together on all three books, but we delved into self-publishing in the last two, so the Hog book and the Turkey book. Again, it's very similar to the reasons why, I've done Pedernal Project is, creative control, editorial control, censorship, things like that, and just being able to present exactly what we feel like we need to in the manner that we want to. And so that's what those books are about. A very similar ethos going into that. And just bootstrapped, those books too. We started the Hog book off with a Kickstarter program, and that enabled us to fund the first printing of it by pre-selling basically all of those copies. And then the sale of those first couple rounds of printings enabled us to create, produce, and distribute the turkey book. So I love that organically. It's just there's no other influences or entities out there. There's no publisher telling us this. There's no person with money controlling that output at all. And so they're very independent books, and we're very proud of them. And I love making books. It's so much fun. Our creative team behind the books, include myself, Jody, the photographer, Sam Averett, the other photographer on the Turkey book, Blair Richardson, who's the designer of both of them. Just working with all of them, and then Sam, the editor slash indexer, Paula, the other editor. Like just it's a tiny little team, but working with such capable people uh, it really kind of inspires me to probably make, I'll probably just continue to make books, write books, even if it's not completely necessary, just because the process of working with such great people is so rewarding.
No, I love that, man. I think that's so true. I remember when I was doing a publishing of one of my books, 20 years ago now, trying to go to other publishers and then realizing let's just do it ourselves and then kind of putting every funds into the next thing. And that creative control was amazing. I needed more of a team around because I didn't do the best editing job, but it was a fun thing to be able to kind of put something out the way you want it and that authentic way and not having to edit and the stuff that you're doing with the project, being able to have full creative control and be able to put out your word and your message and your art as it is I think is just supremely important. And I just wanted to hats off to that, man. You've got some great achievements from all these amazing products, and the project is phenomenal. For those who are looking to go ahead and check out these websites and start making some orders and get involved with the project today, why don't you go ahead and just give us the URLs and kind of some of the socials real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Pedernal Project, that's Pedernal. Again, I mean, it's the Spanish word for Flint. Pedernal Project, which is, I do want to digress and say that it's like most commonly pronounced in Texas, Pedernal, which has always kind of driven me crazy. Um, but yeah, pedernalproject.com. And from there, there will be links to the other things, the wild books, where you can purchase the hog book and the turkey book. A field is available
Mhm.
through any online platform, including the big one. Also at the restaurant at Daidue, my restaurant, you can buy all of those books there. And Meat Eater also carries the hog book and the turkey book in their online store. And there's a here and there's some other wholesale or other retail outlets for those books here in town. Local pastures just started picking them up,
Oh, cool.
and Archery Country
Yeah.
also is a great place to go buy a copy retail if you want, and they're signed up
Yep.
there. But yeah, you can find out all that stuff. And like I said, the Pedernal Project is at 4 chapters in right now. Hog Part 1, Dove, Blue Crab, and Turkey, with more to come. I promise, more really cool stuff. And we're gonna go all over the place. We might delve into gardening. We might delve into some more esoteric, just organizational topics. Lots and lots of butchery to come. We're really going to lock it down and focus on those educational, technical skills. Because I think that that's really, one of the great things about it being an ongoing thing is that I get feedback and then I can say, yes, we're going to, okay, heard that. We're going to continue to do that. And so I really think that it's those butchery and foundational cooking things that we're really going to try to cover more in that and tackle topics that I think that there's a lack of information about. So there'll be a lot more coming.
Man, I'm excited. I'll have all the links below in the show notes. Again, I'm super excited for you, man. It's such a great project and all the things you're doing, man. Congratulations on it all. Before we leave, is there anything that you'd like to kind of share as parting words to maybe some of your, friends, family, supporters along the way who have kind of been there for you and continue to, support you in all these amazing endeavors that you got going on?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Victoria, my fiance, she's so much smarter than I am in each and every way. And so I was like, she is just the backbone of all this stuff. It's like often I'm just yelling from the other room, "Hey, I can't figure this out." And she's like, "Just go to settings." You know, it's pretty incredible that I'm very, very lucky to have her. And also my parents just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. So
Man, congrats
we
to them.
got to host them at Daidue the other night. So that was pretty cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
50 years for them. Uh, it's great. I have to remind myself daily that I have an amazing job. I love what I do. Even dealing with the stuff at the restaurant, the plumbing and the ceiling. It's really just the plumbing and the ceiling at the restaurant. That's what I do. Like, oh, what's it like being a chef? I'm like, we deal with the plumbing and the ceiling. So, I do have a great job, and sometimes I'm out in the field, looking at a beautiful sunrise, and I realize that I'm at work, and I should never forget that. And that inspires me to, do something, for everybody. And it's like I really should take that momentum and that energy and that that privilege and turn that into something educational and useful for others.
And well said. And you do that, and it pays dividends in so many ways, man. It's so fulfilling for you personally, I'm sure, and then all these other folks who get to follow along and learn from the journey and be entertained, and be able to figure out what the next creative and fun meal is going to be. And I just again want to say thanks and congrats on all your success, Jesse. It's an honor to know you, privilege to have you on the podcast again, and looking forward to next time already.
You know what? And thank you, George, too, because you've been a most incredible supporter. I really appreciate you. So I always love talking to you. You're an excellent host, and it's always a fun conversation. So thank you.
Cheers, man. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you so much. Well, until next time, Jesse, take care. Everyone go check out the show notes below. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, following the pages, and sign up for the project and see what's next.
Thanks.
Cheers.